Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of my Megapark. Now, in the last episode, I made this big coaster. I actually painted it a little bit darker, just because I think it will fit the look of this area better. Because I want it to be a little bit dark, and I want to add a bit of a spooky area right over here. I think that will go better with the darker color. So yeah, in this episode I want to make a sort of a mansion right here with a ghost train ride in it, and I will include some special elements on it as well. For this coaster, I asked you all to submit names to me, and oh boy, I got a lot of nice names for the coaster. But actually, one of the names that I liked most was one that I got quite early on. And the name that I liked most was Blue Bayou. I don't know. I think it sounds really nice, the name, and I think it will fit the area quite well. Alright, yeah, like I said, I want to make a mansion here. As you may be able to see, I did change the pathing here a bit. But yeah, I often rework stuff a little bit between episodes. So as you can see, we've reached year 101 right now. I can't believe I already have put so much time into this Megapark. But yeah, you can see it's getting really big. Already really proud of what I put together here in this park. Anyway, enough talking, time to get started on our haunted mansion with a ghost train ride. Now I will use some elements on this ghost train that you normally won't find on normal ghost trains. I wanted to have a vertical lift right up into the building, and then also I will give it some steep drops with a holding brake. Stuff you'll also not find on normal ghost trains, but I think it will fit the layout quite well. Alright, the idea of this ghost train ride is that guests enter the station here, then they go up with a vertical lift. I will make sort of a tower here which the cars emerge from. Then at some point it will be outside on a balcony of sorts, and it will also go inside a few times. And throughout the track there's a few points where there's a steep drop with a holding brake. I think if I don't put the holding brake, the car will just fly off. So yeah, the holding brakes are there, also to add a little bit of suspense, I guess. So yeah, inside it has several drops, it has several circuits, until here, finally at the end, it has a final holding brake with a steep drop, and then the cars go at quite a high speed throughout the courtyard, which I will make here, and guests also enter the ride. I'll probably make a little bridge over this over the track here for the guests to enter the mansion and the ride. Anyway, what's left for me now is to decorate this ride, and this will probably take the longest part of this episode. Alright, that's most of the walls of the mansion done. Now I still need to find a nice way to make a roof here. I don't really feel like also doing the back of the mansion this detailed. So probably I'll just put some rocks here and some high trees, just to cover up the most and just to make the work for a little easier for myself. So yeah, the roof I'll probably use some track texture, and I've been playing a bit with these roofs from the New York set. I think this particular roof piece will come in useful. I'll try to put a few here on the roof. I think it will look nice. Alright, I think the building is mostly finished now. This is probably the most detailed building in this entire Megapark. It took me quite a long time to build. So yeah, what's left now is to do the surroundings of the ghost train. We'll take a little break, make some tea, and then I'll be back to finish the surrounding areas. Just opened the ride, so guests should start flocking in. Now, one thing you should always be careful with ghost trains is that at the moment you let guests in, well, these cars are actually a bit heavier with guests in them, so at many points they will be a little bit faster. And since these cars can fly off the train, you should always be a little bit careful with that. So yeah, it might be that at some point I discover that the cars will fly off the track with guests in them. Well, then probably I'll have to slow it down a bit at some points. But luckily I can just put some brakes on these cars to slow them down. Now here's a little trick that I like to do with my dead trees, but also with some other trees. Just to make it look like there's some thorny bushes here, I will just bury some of these trees into the ground. I think it gives a nice effect, especially here in this in front of this mansion where I want to make it look sort of overgrown. It's also not very tempting to jump in. So yeah, when you bury these dead trees, it really looks like thorny dead bushes or something like that. But yeah, if you look closely, you can also see these jungle trees here, for example. I also really like to bury those. Because normally you have two of these trees with different heights. Right now I just use one of these, just so I can have more other objects. And when I want a tree with a shorter height than this one, I just bury it into the floor. So that way, with the same tree, you can still make it look like you have more different ones. Now, when you want to bury trees, normally you cannot do that. So for that, so now these seeds are disabled. Now, when I press Shift, the tree doesn't go down. You'll need to disable clearance checks. Now, you still cannot move the tree down. You also need to disable support limits. Now you can move the trees into the ground. So yeah, I think that's a really neat trick to use if you want to make it look like you're using more different trees than you actually are. Now this works really well also for pine trees. So for example, here we have a big pine tree, and you can just bury it into the ground to make it look later like there's also younger trees. Another thing this accomplishes is that it makes it, if you do this a lot, it makes it look less like the trees are all on a grid. So yeah, it's just a little trick that I like to use, and that you would now also know if you didn't know it already. Anyway, this was a very long building session. Making this big building took ages. Next time when I'm going to attempt something like this, please remind me that we need to finish this Megapark and that I shouldn't spend all my time on such a small portion of the park. Anyway, probably in next episode I will continue decorating this area. I mean, I added a lot and there's still a lot of area that needs trees, and this coaster also still needs some work. It still needs a building for the transfer track, stuff like that. So yeah, probably that's what I'm going to be working on in the next episode. And maybe I can also already start on the speedboat ride. Alright, that will be it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.